What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Imperfect Action Show. I am Stizzle Speaks, and I am here on behalf of Brendan Boyd, hosting some of the Imperfect Action shows this month. So thank you for having me back. I'm excited to be here for this moment because I have the amazing Samuel Johnson here, who's going to talk about starting an e-com business and how's it like in his current business that he's operating. We'll learn all about his brand. We'll get some tips about e-commerce and how we can explore imperfect action in our businesses. So welcome, Samuel, to the episode.
Hey, Stizzo, how's it going? Thanks
It's
for having
going
me.
well. It's going well. Happy Friday.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
the weekend. It is the weekend. I'll put that in air quotes. So I think entrepreneurs
Okay.
don't have weekends anymore, right? So
Yeah, I mean everything is it's online now, so
yeah,
if you can get work,
exactly.
if you can get work done, it's going to be done at any day.
Any day. I know that's right. Well, we're happy to have you here for the episode. Thank you for joining us today. So we're going to kick it off with just tell us a little bit about who Samuel Johnson is, a little bit about your background, where you're from, and what you're currently doing.
All right. So my name is Samuel Johnson. I'm an engineer first and foremost, and that's something that I really want to stress. Also an entrepreneur. So I've been working as an engineer for a couple years in the tech space in the defense industry, and I think that's really something that has really given me the confidence to be an entrepreneur. A lot of things are online now, and so if you're not well versed in tech or well versed with technology, I think it's going to be a big hurdle for you to gather that online audience and that social media audience. And so, being technically versed and skilled is something that I bring to the table as an entrepreneur. I am currently working on a brand called Reflect, and Reflect is an activewear brand that connects athletes and active people and allows them to truly be who they want to be. And so, one thing we say is every day you wake up and you look in the mirror and you need to reflect and truly be who you think you are. So, Reflect is a motivational activewear brand, and it is designed with athletes in mind so that they can connect with other athletes and truly be that person or that athlete that they want to be.
I love that. Reflect. Talk to me about that. So I get the mirror. Looking in the mirror, you see your reflection and reflecting who you want to be versus who you currently are is so important. So I love that. So talk to me about the inspiration behind the name outside the mirror. Like, where did that come about? What was the conversation like with yourself, or was it with other people and deciding Reflect was going to be the name of the brand? Because that's powerful.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll be completely honest. I was super intentional with this activewear brand. So fast or backtrack maybe like a year or so. I was teaching a lot of crypto back when we were having huge gains in crypto. I was in that craze, and not that I've completely abandoned that space. I decided it was time for me to do something different because a lot of us are serial entrepreneurs. We like to scratch that itch and start something new, start something fresh, and really hope to get things moving. So this was an intentional thing that I did. So before, the brand wasn't called Reflect. This wasn't my first name. And so going back to a couple other brands that I had created in years past, I noticed that I was just coming up with names that I thought were good. And since I wanted this to be a huge brand, a well-recognized brand, something that's really professional, I thought, well, we probably want to trademark this name. We want to make sure this name is actually something that we can use. And so for probably about a month or a couple of weeks, I was actually researching names and figuring out like what I could do as opposed to coming up with a name and really trying to push that forward. So Reflect was probably my second or third choice for the brand. And kind of once I came up with that name, the ideas just started flowing. As an entrepreneur, you're constantly thinking. And so for me, just as I'm thinking every single day, all day, the idea of someone reflecting, someone digging deep, looking deep inside to become the person they want to be, that idea came about. And then the visions of the mirror, looking in the mirror and like seeing that person that you want to see, looking back at you, from the future, let's say, like that idea came about as well. And so it really was like the name first and then the ideas, instead of like me having an idea of digging deep and then coming up with Reflect.
Nice, nice. I love that. And in terms of getting into e-commerce, right? Because you have a tech background, which is amazing. And I totally agree. And I resonate with what you said in the beginning is, having tech in your back pocket is so important, especially now in 2023 in the age of crypto is still around. It's on a down, according to one of the podcasts I did recently, and I learned something. But it's not going anywhere, right? And so tech is forever changing. Was tech a part of this taking imperfect action to start an ecom business? Like, did those two things tie in together, or was this like I'm going a completely different direction with the ecom business? I may use my technical background in terms of understanding the .com, but like, are you an athlete? Like, where did you go with tech to athletic wear?
So I am an athlete. I love sports, love watching the NBA. And so that's always been something that I've been drawn to. Played basketball in high school. And then once I got to college, I did focus on my engineering degree, electrical engineering. But even I think it was around 2021, I had a NBA podcast or content, system that I was writing blogs and doing podcasts and things like that. So the sports has never left me ever since I was a kid, ever since I grew up. And so this was just something where, it started and then it grew to, athletes. Initially it really was like for people who work out. So then this grew to athletes, and we have a lot of opportunities with new NIL deals with high school and college athletes. And so that's something that we're looking to pursue. As far as the tech, initially, and we still do want to do this. We are looking to get into the metaverse. Now, I know that's really early. Not everybody's into the metaverse right now. A couple brands are in there, brands like Adidas and things like that. So one of our main goals is to get into the metaverse and try to really build there. And so I think having that tech background and having like the crypto knowledge, even creating smart contracts, having designers create your assets to be in the metaverse with a clothing brand is really important. And so those are all things that, you need to have the knowledge to kind of guide people, people that maybe, they're contractors or they're employees for you. You need to have the knowledge to guide them in that direction.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And now, how does someone start out with wanting to create an ecom business? Like, what are the kind of stepping stones that you think about when you're like, okay, I have this idea, I want to create an athletic brand, and I know I want to make, let's say leggings and a sports bra for the women, and then maybe a tracksuit for the men. But like, what's the next step in that? Do you go and find your designs first? Do you go and find a website first to sell it on? Like, what is the process like?
I would say the first thing you want to do is find that design and really discover the brand and figure out how you want to actually market the clothes. So is it going to be strictly like a logo, or is it going to be something where you're creating new unique designs? So right now, Reflect is activewear. Activewear is really a commodity right now. There's not too much you can do. So one of our things is the logo, and having our Reflect logo that actually reflects on itself. And so that, I think is another idea that we came up with, or I came up with, that really helps to make Reflect stand out, a logo that actually reflects. So the first thing you want to do is just decide, how do you want to market your clothes and what type of clothing business you want to have. If you want to do logo, there's a lot of private labelers that you can use, or, doing your research, finding people, what sizes are they, what sizes are popular, maybe looking at other brands can help you create those designs first. And I think that's the first step before you do anything else, is like, let's just decide what type of clothing brand you want to have.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And then for like finding your manufacturers, like the people to actually create the clothing, did you look at, are you drop shipping, or are you direct to customer, or like how is your e-commerce business set up? Because I know some people do order now and then they send it to someone to create the product after.
So we are direct to customer, so we have inventory, and when somebody places an order, we will simply ship them their order. So we aren't drop shipping. We found a lot of our suppliers off Alibaba, and so it really is getting kind of expensive here in the U.S. to create a lot of stuff. I know a lot of big brands, like, they're notorious for not creating their clothes in the United States. You'll see stuff like made in Indonesia or Vietnam or things like that. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to go with Alibaba. There's a lot of quality suppliers there. There's also, a couple suppliers in California that are pretty good, but then again, you're going to have to pay that steep price to start out. And clothing generally, if you're not doing that pre-order type style, it is going to be like a pretty high cost to start out to get that inventory and test your clothes and things like that.
Right. And so what was the risk factor for you in the beginning starting out? Like, did you go through a certain amount of let's say samples or prototypes in the beginning that were just no good and spent a ton of money, or like what was the risk in the beginning, and how did you take imperfect action and saying, you know what, no matter the risk that I took, we're still going to go ahead and create this brand and create this story?
Okay, so I'll say, I think to me it's a lot of determination. I'm under the impression that, if I keep grinding, if I keep going, like eventually something's going to work out. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs now have that mindset. So we also are trying to get into, think of ourselves like a startup, and really look at maybe venture capital and things like that. So when you do something like that, you do have to assess your risk first before you start trying to get funds. Now, for this, I was bootstrapping it. I was putting my own money into the brand. And, starting out, I was working with a supplier where we agreed on a specific item. And, once I had gotten the order in, I start, unpacking the clothes, and it's a different type of item that I had ordered. So, like, for example, there was a zipper on the back. With these, there was no zipper. And so, that is something where it's a risk where you do want to get your samples first, like never place an order without getting a sample first, and it's something I had to learn the hard way. So as far as risks, I mean, it's not a huge risk just starting out with some samples or a small batch of inventory. So, if someone is starting out, you can just start with the samples. You can start with something small. You can see if your friends like it, push it to them for free, see if they can show their friends, and you can work from there. But I think for me the key part is to just build a brand. I think once you build a solid, concise brand, a lot of things happen and a lot of doors open to where people can interact with your brand multiple different ways, right? They can buy clothes, they can share your content, they can be a part of your content, they can kind of create content for you as well. And so that's kind of where we're looking to push the brand, is to really build a brand. Like, we don't want to always say we sell activewear, but really we're a brand that connects athletes and active people together.
Right. And I love that. And I want to make sure we touch on that a little bit because it's such an important point, especially now in 2023, is building the brand versus just building an opportunity to sell people items, right? Because right now, and it's almost always been this way, is people work for people and people buy from people. Right. And so they're not buying into a name, or they're not working for a company. Like, people don't work for Nike. They may work for the leadership that they see in Nike. Or people don't buy Prada. They buy into the image and the brand that Prada speaks. Right. So it's important, to your point, to create this brand that will really create the awareness to bring people in based on what your messaging is. And yours is to build a brand that, puts athletes and athletic people together and creates that community, right? So the more you build the brand based on that community, the more opportunity you have for people to say, I want to be a part of this. And me being a part of it is actually wearing the merchandise from the brand. And so, like, the sales just come in naturally based on creating the powerhouse and creating the imaging. So I think that was so critical that you said that, because a lot of people, well, I should say some people, I'm trying to get out of saying a lot, because that's one of those statements that's just so general, we always say, but some people tend to want to create e-commerce brands just for the selling point, and just to be able to sell a product to someone, and think of the dream of having six figures or making 50 to 100K a month on selling a product, but they don't think about the longevity, and like, you have to build a brand versus just building a product business. So I love that you said that. That's an incredibly important. And so what was your first product that you built with the brand? And who is like your profile, your first customer? Was it a friend, like you said, that sampled, or did you give away a ton of merchandise to get some eyes on it? Or did you have like an athlete that was like, yeah, I'm going to wear this for you? What was that first experience like for you?
Uh, so the first experience you're talking about maybe the first sale.
Yeah.
So I still do work out. I'm always active. I'm someone who lives within that realm, and that's who our ideal customer is someone who gets up every day, they grind, they work out, they're pushing towards their goals. So I do work out, I do some group training. And so I was looking to sell or promote it to some of my trainers, some of the people in the group sessions with me. And so that's definitely an experience where the people in that group are people who are super active. And so, just getting that perspective from them is really good. They enjoy it, and when you're in that realm, it's kind of different. Trying to get people to care sometimes as an entrepreneur, like
Mhm.
because a lot of times people are just living their lives. So you have to get them first to care, and then once you kind of hook their attention, it's almost hard to like get them not to care because now they're like looking for so much information and they're looking to figure out how they can support, how they can buy. And so that first experience is really, something that I think all entrepreneurs have to go through, with just like kind of gathering an audience
Mhm.
and then maintaining that audience as well.
Right, for sure. Maintaining, that's the key point too. It's like keeping the audience that you have warm, making them hot, and then keeping them hot where they come back and they want to again be part of the brand story. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about the financial aspects of e-commerce. And you don't have to be very specific in giving us an exact number, but generally speaking, on a ballpark, someone who's looking to start out their e-com business in apparel, right, and not doing a drop shipping method, what is kind of a good amount of money that someone should have saved or put away that they'll have to put up front to be able to create this e-commerce business?
Okay. So I would say the first thing you want to do, you probably want to start out on an e-commerce platform like Shopify. So that's not going to run you a whole lot of money per month. Depending on what theme you get, you can get a free theme and then customize it or whatever. As far as the clothes, it depends on kind of what type of items and how many items you're going to have in your store. Obviously, you want to start out with just a few items. You don't want to have 10, 15, 20 items for people to choose. You just want to start out with something small. So, a nice number I would say is really just $500. I think if you have 1, 2 items, you can get a couple samples. Now, depending on how, again, this goes back to how you want to create your clothing line. So, how much customization and how in depth are you creating these clothes? It's going to depend on, that. But if you are, let's say, private labeling at first, I would say a good $500 you could start out with.
Start out to create your first order. Okay. Cool. We actually have a question, and it's what's the best way to market your fitness brand to sell your clothing?
So one thing that we're working on right now is influencer marketing. And so, like I said before, we're using a lot of NIL deals or college athletes. And so before, maybe 2 years ago, you probably couldn't pay athletes to promote your brand. That would be against NIL rules. And so, I think affiliate marketing with clothes is really going to be something good. I do think that's a pretty saturated market. A lot of people are starting activewear brands, but we at Reflect, we like to say we're the first activewear brand that was designed with the athlete in mind. And so I think, if you have something unique, you can certainly do influencer marketing, and just connecting other people's networks. And so, you get on someone else's network, they might post it to their story. Now their friends are following, and now their friends could also be customers. And so, definitely look at influencer marketing.
Yeah. And influencer marketing, and you can give me your opinion, but I think too, when it comes to getting the right influencer, that's the biggest key component, right? Because you want to be able to have someone that represents the brands accurately and not just someone who has like a big following because you think that will bring you potential leads, because sometimes that could be at the detriment of the business too. So what's your thoughts on influencer marketing and finding the right person? Like who would be your ideal person to land a deal with? It they're watching the show and you had to wave a magic wand and it was
Yeah.
like boom, I got you. Who would that person be?
Oh man. So does this have to be a known person that everybody knows? You know, and this will be somewhat of a recency bias, but I'm an Eagles fan, so I might even go with somebody like Jalen Hurts. And he's a very serious guy. He looks like he takes his training seriously. He looks like he takes his life extremely seriously. And so I think Jalen Hurts is somebody who you can say, like, at some point, like, he's reflected on himself and his past performance and looked in the mirror and really became the Jalen Hurts that we see today. So I think somebody like that, somebody who takes themselves seriously and takes their training seriously, that would be an ideal influencer for Reflect. As far as what you're saying, finding that right influencer, yeah, I think it is more important to have someone who has an audience that really resonates with them. And if they also resonate with your brand and can speak about a lot of your brand principles, then, that's something that would probably do better than someone who just has a large following, who does push a lot of products. And now it seems like they're just, throwing anything out there just to, get some affiliate commissions.
Perfect. I love that. Great question. Great response. And so, in terms of the actual catalog and what you offer right now, what is sort of your go-to item? What's like the hot item that people are ordering the most of? Like, what's your, I would say your love mark item?
Okay, so I think a lot of guys, men, because I am a man, and people, like you said, they buy from people who they resonate with. So a lot of guys are going with the Reflect Men's Jogger, and so that's our hottest item right now. We're still working on getting the women interested in buying, because women have a lot of choices nowadays. But definitely the Reflect Men's Jogger and our Reflect Men's Sleeveless Hoodie. Now it is out of stock, and we're trying to get that back in stock. But that's also issues with suppliers where, it's something you got to work around. And then, you might have already put something out and people are interested. And so, it's all about kind of being overly communicative with suppliers and customers and really trying to get things done to appease everybody. And so that is one of the things where when you're working with outside suppliers, some things could go wrong.
Right. I love that. And I want to go back to the point you mentioned earlier with women having a lot of options nowadays with athletic wear. What are some of the things that you're seeing on the market that are similarities between athletic brands that maybe are part of your marketing strategy for women? And then what are some of the things that are not, like, you may not be seeing right now that is part of your marketing strategy to say, hey, this is how we're going to grab the attention of women that other brands aren't doing?
So I do, like I said before, I do think Reflect is unique, and you can even let me know, but I think Reflect is unique in the sense that, we're really trying to get people to believe. And a lot of brands, even a lot of clothing brands that aren't activewear brands, like it's about believing and it's motivational. But I do think we have a unique way that we can market to people where, we can show people being active, which I think a lot of activewear brands aren't doing. I think a lot of activewear brands just have pictures and not videos. I don't know how many other activewear brands actually have, actual college athletes and people that are in the field, promoting their brand and people that are actually doing this stuff. So, I do think we need to get out on a couple more channels. We need to continue to grow. There's no magic pill on time, right? We got to, live the time out. So as the brand, has more time under its belt and we continue to grow and reach more people, I think we'll be able to work with that like a couple other brands have. But yeah, I do think we're in a unique position where we can show college athletes, we can show people actually doing the work, and we can actually, play on the words of Reflect and kind of have people looking in the mirror and really, really digging deep inside.
Got it. Got it. I love that. Now, in terms of technology, when it comes to, and maybe that's not the right term, so correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to the actual clothing and being able to have a brand that speaks to athletes in terms of wearability, right? What are some of the things, if any, that you all take into account with the brand to make sure it's suitable for women athletes? Like, for example, the first thing I can think of for me, I'm a woman who's a little bit of a heavier chest up top. And so if I was an athlete, I would be more concerned about being able to manage and control the activity that happens there. So, like, are there any, technical things about the brand that makes it very different that, suits athletes that, maybe of a certain stature?
Um, so as of right now, a lot of our sizes are fit towards, smaller to medium sized women. And that's not by design. We're a very inclusive brand. So a lot of our stuff was mainly supplier limitations. And so with starting out, it's not necessarily that I designed this to not be inclusive to certain people. Um, but right now, as far as like the technical aspects of the clothes, we've had good reviews for most women where they're saying like it's very comfortable when I'm making movements. A lot of activities not happening.
Mhm.
So I think it's a case where if something's not broke, we might not need to fix it. But yeah, having clothing that's suitable for people of all communities, especially the Black community. A lot of our women, a lot, thicker thighs, bigger butts and things like that. We do want to be able to have that um, as something in our inventory in the future. Just right now, starting out, it was a case where there were supplier limitations, and that's something we had to go with.
Okay, perfect. And in terms of supplier limitations, as an ecom brand, how do you pivot in that situation? Like, how do you work through that challenge? Do you put production on hold and do a pre-sale thing? Like, what's the strategy with supplier limitations?
So I think the best thing, and let's just speak, I guess, about our position right now in general. I think the best thing is to go out and look at some other brands that are inclusive and kind of take those dimensions and see what's popular, see what they're doing well, and actually kind of relay that to the supplier manufacturer type of thing and have them create clothes that fit the market right now. We've got brands that are out here doing a great job. And so if we're able to tap into what they're doing and create our own thing based on that, that can save a lot of time and money, especially for a brand that's just starting out. So that's what I would do in that situation, is kind of look at other brands, see what they're doing well, and then kind of definitely model your future designs off of that.
I love that. Perfect. And then for me, because you asked, I'll lean in terms of like my experience with athletic brands, being someone who I was fairly active the past like year and a half. I was at the gym like 5 days a week working out. And
Okay.
from a woman standpoint, the thing that sort of drives me bonkers is right now every single legging that I see on a woman has the same exact structure, right? And I don't know, again, I'm not good with the verbiage for clothing, but it has the same design. Let's put it like
Mhm.
that. So there's the scrunch in between the cheeks, and then it has like this design that shapes out the booty and all those things. And I get it. I know women, they want to make sure their bodies look good because hey, it is what it is, right? But I would love a brand that doesn't so much focus on that aspect and like enhancing a woman's body, but just making sure like we feel comfortable in the clothes that we're working out in and like we can move around in the right way and they fit well. So if you can come up with something that looks great without having all that, you got a good brand and you have a whole different target audience, right? And I know it's one of the it's not broken, don't fix it. And a lot of women do like that style. But I think if you can create a brand that has the identity like your brand has to say reflects who you want to be, not what you're seeing around you, like that's a win, right? Because you don't
Okay.
want to follow the masses, like that's everyone else. You be your own unique individual and who you want to be. So that would be great. And I love that the fact that the logo reflects itself because people work out at night too, or you may have someone who's jogging outside and then they can have that reflection for headlights and stuff like that. So it's deeper than just the reflection aspect of the logo and what the brand stands for, but also safety. So that's a big thing because people work out outside a lot. So I love that. But I'm a person who loves black.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
all
Me
black.
too.
We're all black for a long time working in the cosmetic business. So I love black. I think it's so chic. It goes with everything and anything. So I like that. Looking at your Instagram page, like you see a sea of black in the color portfolio. And then the change in reflection color is nice too.
Yeah. I think just to kind of speak to the points you were making as far as like all women's activewear looking the same. We have that kind of scrunch, in the crack area.
Yeah.
So yeah, reflect what obviously designed for athletes, and so whether it's male athletes, female athletes, everybody in between, um, it's not necessarily to be the super flashy, you walk in the gym, you get all the guys, you get all the girls. Like, this is really performance activewear. And so our goal was not necessarily to, make your butt look any bigger or make your, slim your waist or anything like that. It really was designed to be something that connects you with other people who are also doing the same thing as you in the same way. Everyone's reflecting and kind of digging deep inside, but also you do work out, you got to train. And so Reflect is designed as that high performance activewear and not necessarily for the activewear you go to the gym to look good. It's to go to the gym and perform. And that's really the kind of target audience that we're looking at, is people who are super serious about their craft, but also do want to look good, but really more importantly, they want to perform well.
I love that. I love that. Give us one of your highlight moments from when you started this brand until now. What's something you feel really great about that you want to celebrate?
So I feel great about people actually resonating with the idea. A lot of times you start something, a lot of people, they might not like it or whatever, but like genuinely, every time I talk about this, the people that I meet, the people that I show it to, like, they're genuinely interested in it. The athletes that I talk to, they really want to support and they think that this is something great. And so, like, a highlight moment would really be that idea of people actually resonating with the brand and us having success with people telling their story. So a lot of things that we're doing, we do these things called reflections, and that's really kind of what we use to connect other people. So you might go on our website or our Instagram, you watch a reflection and you'll feel inspired and motivated. You might have competed against somebody in the past, maybe you're a college athlete, you see they have a reflection, and it's like, we're now connected through this brand Reflect, through this reflection. And so, just people being ready and willing to do that and tell their story, I think, is really key. And like I said, the fact that we're in this unique position, I think allowing people to tell their story is the unique position. And I think a lot of brands aren't doing that. Even the motivational brands, they're not encouraging or influencing people to tell their story and connect with other people through that story.
For sure. Do you see anything outside of athletic wear being a part, if you want to tell us, because it could be a secret, being a part of Reflect in the future? Let's say journals, or something that also embodies reflection, mirrors, portables, anything like that you thought of? Or is it strictly athletic wear for now, or maybe a secret you don't want to tell us?
Yeah, it is weird because I was the one who came up with the mirror idea, and then it was actually my mom who had come up with the journal idea. And so both of those ideas have come through our idea pipeline. As far as something that's not necessarily like super productized, we do want to start doing events for the youth and getting them active and getting them versed with the brand, because if you're looking long term, you do want to start getting young people aware of what you're doing and helping them work out, do yoga, stretch, meditate, things like that. I think that's all important when it comes to sports and sports science and sports psychology. And so events, leagues, kind of tournaments, things like that is something that Reflect can do.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you said the youth. I'm all about the youth. So that's super dope. Awesome. That was some good information, Samuel.
Yeah.
So let us know if there anybody watching right now or watching this after, where they can find you, and then where they can get more information about Reflect brand.
Okay, so our website, and it's probably the first place you want to go, wearreflect.com. That's WearReflect, wearreflect.com. Instagram, TikTok, wearreflect, Facebook. So everything is wearreflect, whether it's the website or our socials.
Okay, so we are Reflect. Did I spell that right?
Wear, WEAR.
Okay, WEAR. And then ELECT.
So, yeah, so WEARREFLECT.
WEARREFLECT. Okay, I'm literally just working on my coffee now. I haven't had breakfast, so I'm like, wait, can I think straight? Here we go. Okay, so you all should be seeing that coming up right now. We are reflect.com. Did I do that right?
Yes. Yeah. So where? Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. So if you all are looking for your athletic wear and you want to make sure that you are working out and being fit in a space of not only physically fit, but mentally fit, and understanding mindset is the first place to start. We Are Reflect is the place to go. So we are wearreflect.com is where you want to find more information. Samuel, thank you so much for being on this episode of Perfect Action. We learned a lot about e-com. We learned a lot about branding and the importance of having a brand and not just selling a product.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
Thank
for sure. So you all know where to find them. Check them out. And I'll see you all in the next episode of the Imperfect Action Show.